All right, guys, this is RATL Week 4, races at the lake in Ohio, and this was a wild one. You can see I've already got an attack counter up there. We came into this, a lot of solo riders. Just looking at this summit team, brought 8 or 9 people, and we knew it was going to be counterattack after counterattack. So there was a little bit of talk from, myself, Greg, who's directly behind me in the red project kit. He's from Buffalo as well. We're different teams, but we knew we were going to have to work together a little bit. So the first attack, right off the gun, I was right on his wheel, so I figured I'll just be on this and maybe it will deter from actually either this guy really going for it, or if he does, then great. His team is back there and they're not going to chase. So if I'm sitting on this guy, maybe he'll take me the whole way. I mean, last week, Reese went off. Reese from Cleveland Cycling Academy, he's in this race. He was a big rider in it. He won last week in a breakaway where no one chased, and we were just thought he'd come back. So I figured it wouldn't be a bad idea to be in a break with a summit rider, knowing that their team is not going to do any work, and who's left in the field to actually do work. We'll find out. So you can see in the rear cam, it looks like there was a couple trying to bridge. I think that might be Owen. He's a really strong rider. He was bringing back stuff a lot in this race. So there were a few people that were doing work to keep Summit from just destroying us in this race. It was myself, Greg, who I mentioned before, Reese from CCA, and Owen did a lot of work as well. So between all of us kind of bringing things back, getting on these attacks, we were able to actually keep Summit from taking the entire podium, which I think was a win. But this guy and I did work together a little bit, and we had a really good gap. So I said, why don't we see how far we can go, see if they're willing to bring us back. And we pretty much stayed away for a little over a full lap. And I'm really going to let this race just play out in its entirety, I think, because a lot happened and a lot was going through my mind about, how to place best and, which attacks to go with, how we are going to bring these back. But overall, I think we did the best we could with the way that this field was stacked. It did probably at some points do a little bit too much work, maybe chased some of the wrong attacks, knowing that there were a few other stronger guys in the field that would bring things back. And then there were a couple breakaways that I maybe should have tried much harder to keep going. So this one, at this point, I can see that he's not fully invested in keeping this away. So, he keeps looking back. The field is gaining on us. I look at him and, I pretty much say I'm sitting up. I'm soft pedaling at this point. I know he's not interested, so there's no point in me going alone because they're coming back fast at this point. But if I want a breakaway to work in this race, I know that there has to be a summit rider in that break. So I'm keeping that in mind and thinking, I will try to jump on some wheels when attacks go, because if there's a summit rider in there, there is a pretty good chance that it could get away with all the other teammates in the field just slowing things up. And they do a really good job of blocking to keep those attacks from going. So as soon as that field catches, you can see attack number 2. Now I jump on this again because I'm thinking, okay, we've got Summit and we've got Reese, who went off last week in a breakaway. So you know, maybe this is the one they let go. And you can see in the rear cam, I think Greg is thinking the same thing. So he's thinking, you know, we've got a Summit guy, we've got Reese from CCA, who's real strong, and I'm up here. So he's thinking, all right, that's a good combination. I'm going to try to bridge that gap, and maybe the four of us can work together. And I think that Owen may have tried to go too, and it looked like he might have gotten kind of caught in the middle somewhere, and they might have reeled him back. But now Greg is on, and I've kind of checked back over my shoulder. I'm seeing we've got a good gap, and you know, just kind of seeing what kind of speed right now Reese is putting on the front. Now, this is one of those times, now looking back, I'm thinking we maybe should have tried harder to make this work. Yes, it's early, but again, with Summit not doing work to bring back a breakaway with one of their team members, so Greg yells out that there's a gap, and so I tell the other guys, you know, let's do this, let's put in a dig. So I get on the front to try to spur them, not realizing that at that same moment, someone was really pulling the field. I think it may have been Owen, I'm not sure. Owen, if you see this, you can leave in the comments what was happening in the field back there. But you can see he's on Reese now, so he was most likely leading the charge. Again, obviously it was not Summit. I kind of wish that Owen had bridged, and if he had gotten into our group, I really think the five of us could have stayed away. But then again, Summit may have saw that was not favorable. Here goes attack 3. So you can already see that we've dropped a bunch of riders at this point already from those two pretty big attacks. But the majority of the leftover field here is all Summit guys, so it's not going to really make our job much easier. But things are pretty strung out still, and I'm just trying to stay near the front. You know, Summit's off, so I'm thinking I really shouldn't be behind these guys in case they let up and try to cause another break. But I have pretty much been off the front the majority of this race so far, so I am trying to get a little bit of draft while I can. And it's a tough balance because, you know, I can't rely on anyone else to do the work to bring any of these back. I know Reese is strong, and I know he's not going to just let it go. But at the same time, it's like, you know, if he were to bridge up, then I'm left back here. So I do not want to be much further back than I shouldn't have been further back than fifth wheel in case somebody else goes to try to bridge. But at this point, I'm really loving that I'm not putting in too much work, getting a little bit of a breather in case I need to go again. And I can see that we're already bringing that guy back. So, you know, Reese is really putting in some good power at the front. So, again, you can see Owen is in the green jersey, the dark green jersey. You got Greg in the red, and then Reese in the white. So those are the only guys that I can rely on to do any work when we've got Summit off the front. So we're about to catch this guy, and I already know that when we do, there's going to be another attack. So I'm just kind of getting ready for it. And you can see this guy getting his drops, and I'm already thinking, okay, here we go, and attack 4, here it goes. So I kind of jump a little bit, and I get up next to Greg, and if you can hear it, I just say, what do you think? And he says, nah, we'll let this one go. So I don't want to give too much, but I do kind of get on the front and just try to keep the speed up a little bit. I'm heavier than Greg, so I think use this as sort of a pole. Just keep the speed up on the downhill. And I don't mind being on the front during the technical section too, so that's kind of an added bonus. But I'm not going to go work too hard. I don't think that this guy is really able to stay away if, again, the four of us are doing a bit of work on the front when we can. Taking the turns pretty well. You can see there's actually a gap I created just by turning through those between Greg and myself. Huge improvement from the week before in the 3-4 race and then the 4-5. So every time I do this course, I was definitely getting the hang of that more. So I come through there. I had done a little dig, and then I elbowed, gave Greg the little elbow flick. And I realized I kind of fell a little bit too far back because, like I was saying before, I don't want to have too many summit guys in between myself and be too far away to follow moves if they go. Because if any of these other summit guys were to go, I could be trapped pretty bad back here. If, say, Reese, Greg, and one summit guy followed them, if these guys just wanted to drop the wheel and create a break, I'd be screwed. So I just gotta move up a little bit and try to keep in touch with the front. And we're again about to bring the fourth attack back. It always seemed like when we'd hit the hill, that was probably when the guy off the front was starting to lose motivation a little bit, and we would bring things back. So things are slowing down, and there goes attack 5. Now that was pretty close. He had to scooch by Reese. I think I yelled out left side, and so he moved over, and he still was able to scoot by. We got a rider on the right here who thinks about bridging, and I think he kind of gets stuck in no man's land a little bit. And it was a good move. I just think he needed to snap a little bit quicker and get on that summit guy's wheel. So because now he's doing just the same amount of work as the original attacker, and I think he just gets gassed out and realizes it might be better to just let the field catch back up. So we catch him. And then we got to kind of decide whether we're going to put in some extra work to catch the summit guy or hang out a little bit. So let's see what we do. I was actually, the more confident I get in these turns on this course, the more I absolutely love this course. It's really fun. And this field was very safe, and I felt confident with all of these guys. It's kind of crazy because earlier in the day it was wet and every single field had a bunch of crashes, and so I was very nervous going into this race, just with the sheer amount of crashes. This was always a good place to move up, by the way. So we'd come out of that turn, and if you can get on the left side here, it was usually open. And it was also where I would want to take this turn from anyways, because you can pedal through and keep your speed up. So I'm yelling to Owen that we really got to get around this guy. So you can see he was really soft pedaling, and he's got his teammate off the front. So he's not working at all. I'm just letting Owen know, like, hey, we cannot rely on this guy. Let's form our own little group. And you can see it's Owen, Greg, myself, and Reese now kind of on the front. And we're trying to keep Summit away from the front so they can't control and block, and we can do our work to bring this guy back. So I'm not quite on Greg's wheel, and I don't remember quite why I was doing that. I would think I was going to go to the front and pull things around that Summit Rider, but then Owen ended up doing the work and getting up there, so I decided to just kind of float back and get back on a wheel. But you can also see that you've got a couple of Summit guys. One of the guy directly behind me right now, who don't do any attacks, and I believe they're kind of saving a couple of guys for an end sprint if there was no breakaway. So pretty much every other guy did an attack, and they were really good at rotating and switching those up and saving some legs for the sprint. So they kind of were covered for either the breakaway or pack sprint. So we'll see how it all ends up. But we got Summit on the front again here, and honestly, he's probably doing a little bit too much work, because I don't know if we caught that. Maybe we did. Maybe he was the last attacker. We'll see when we get to the downhill if we can see anybody ahead. Yeah, okay, so I think we had just reeled that guy in. So Reese and him are talking, and that's always concerning. If people are making deals with the team, you never really know what's going on in there. But I think Greg was telling me later that it seemed like they were trying to make some sort of deal to be in a breakaway together. But, I mean, that's kind of the name of the game. Everybody wants to be in a breakaway with a Summit rider because, again, there's no way you're getting away if there isn't a Summit rider with you in a field like this, because they've got the team and they can just all get on the front and pull. Excuse me. So they're hitting it pretty hard out of the turns just to keep some pressure on. You see, actually, Reese has a bit of a gap. That was actually kind of an attack there. I think I don't fully count it. You'll see it. I think the attack counter goes up here, because I think he fully puts in the attack then. Yeah, so I counted that one. So now here's the thing. I see the one Summit rider go, and I know that I gotta be up there, because again, if there is a Summit rider in the break, then the team will not chase. So you can see those guys all drop the wheel, and I have to do the work myself to get up there. So that's what I do. So now we got 4 guys again, and Summit's included, and I know Greg and Reese are strong. So this is another one that if I was stuck back in the field, I would be very nervous about. This is a good mix, and we should have been yelling probably to Reese to just give it everything, because knowing that we've got a Summit rider, the team shouldn't chase, but it means the 3 other guys have to do the work. So we should have just told the Summit rider, look, you don't have to pull, you can sit on our wheel, we will do the work. And that probably would have been our best bet to stay away in one of these breaks. Just let him draft off us, we'll rotate, and he, just by being there, will help us by having the field hopefully not chase. It is kind of interesting though, because you can actually see the Summit guys are on the front, so I'm not really sure why they did chase that. Maybe they didn't like the mix there. I don't know if they thought that one of these guys, I mean, really they had 2 guys because we caught that other breakaway at that same point. It may have been better for the teammates back in the field to fully drop, and the other breakaway rider that we caught would have joined us, and then they would have had 2 riders in the breakaway, and would have outnumbered us. So now everything's back together, and what do you know? Summit is attacking again. Attack number 7. And I was just in good position to jump on the wheel, so, why not? Again, it could lead to the possibility of some of those solo riders bridging and creating a breakaway, and then I don't have to do the full effort of bridging in the wind. I can just be on this wheel, and you can see Reese is trying to bridge up, and I think Greg may have gotten left back, and he's pulling the field, unfortunately, because he was just too close to the front to be able to snap and get away from them. But obviously he still didn't want to get left behind, so I understand why he brought the field there. But so we quickly get brought back, with Greg not wanting to let that one go. That's why teams, it would be nice to have a teammate, because say if Greg and I were on the same team, he would have let that go, and maybe that would have been the breakaway to get away. But so I'm maybe doing a little bit too much work, but at the same time, I don't want to get swarmed too bad here. We are caught, so I know at some point there's going to be another counterattack here. So just trying to keep my eyes open and be ready for whatever's going to happen next. Plus, you have to put some power down just to get up that hill. So bell's ringing for a preem, which I am not interested in at all. I just want to do as well as I can in this race. But there goes attack 8. So I very quietly say, on the right, but I have no interest in chasing it myself, because I've been doing way too much work at this point, and I just need a second. I can recover, but I can't go. Can't chase every single one down. So I'm pretty comfortable knowing that guy, may win the preem. Again, it wasn't something I was really interested in. At this point, I want to do the best I can in these races, because I'm trying to get upgrade points for Cat 3. And with last week, I got 5th. I got some points. Those are my first upgrade points, which I was really proud about. And this one is a field of 21 people, so I think the top 7 racers are going to get more upgrade points. So that's what I'm thinking about, not the preems. I'm flicking Reese through here. He's telling me if there's a breakaway, we got to be in it together. And I'm telling him if we want to create separation, we really got to attack from the back a little bit more. But I'm well aware that I want to be in a break, and I know that he's I gotta have him there. I really want to have Greg there, and again, at least one summit rider. So in my head, that's kind of the best mix that could happen. And it's been close a couple of times, but we weren't able to stay away. And I'm very okay getting a draft right now. I wanted to get, I let Reese pull through, and I jumped back on his wheel. I did not want to let summit riders get in between myself and Reese, knowing that, again, they could kind of block things up and I could get trapped behind. So that's why I'm not really fully drafting on him right now because they were kind of there, and I didn't want to fall too far behind. I want to be as close to his wheel if he jumps, and wanted to kind of leave myself an opening. Now, I'm just kind of thinking, like, you know, I'm doing work anyways. I put in a little dig. I don't think I'm going to get away. I'm not the best climber, and you know, people have plenty of time to jump back on, but at the same time, this hill is a good place to bring people back. This was probably my biggest mistake of the race, I guess. I don't think there was really any reason for me to go that hard there, but I, you know, put in a little pole. I flicked Reese through, and I figure, you know, this is a good opportunity as any to bring this front rider back, and I can get right onto his wheel and back in the draft, and maybe we can make something happen, at least by stringing things out. So we are 8 attacks in at this point, and pretty much had to chase everything down. You know, even the attack that was not Summit, I mean, I still have to do the work, because if I don't, and Summit was in the break, you know, I'm still gonna I'm gonna be left out. So now Reese does attack, and I think I got a little complacent there. I let his wheel go a little bit. I should have been on him more through that turn, knowing that he likes to attack after that technical section. And you know, I just let too much space go, and now I'm having to do just as much work to bridge up to him. Took that corner pretty hot. It's 27 miles per hour. I actually didn't lose any speed through there, which was pretty great. But now I actually should have let Summit do the work to begin with when he went. I did too much there before the turn, knowing that they have the team. With a solo rider like that, that's really on them. But I realized it afterwards, and I was like, what am I doing? So I kind of pull off, knowing that they really are going to have to close the rest. And I know this rider is kind of looking back. He's not going to pull me up, so he drops back, and I got to close that gap. But now it's really strung out. We've dropped some more riders, but we're slowly bringing Reese back, and I think Owen is maybe doing too much work. We should have communicated, Owen, Greg, and myself, to make the Summit guys close this gap. This is really the only opportunity to make them do work, is if somebody can get off the front that's not in their team. And pretty much every other break they were represented. So that's kind of how you force them to do work, even with the amount of teammates they have. You know, and you might be able to catch them disorganized, and you know, maybe their sprinter ends up doing work. I don't know, but it's worth trying to get the team to work. So this guy kind of attacks to try to bridge to Reese rather than bring the whole field up, which was smart. And now this is when, you know, Owen, Greg, and myself have to close the gap, because now Summit is represented. So that was really a smart move. Without that rider bridging, again, it's kind of on Summit to close things up. So people are really pushing it out of that corner. I'm pretty lucky that there were still these guys on the back who were actually doing work. You know, all of these guys could have dropped the wheel and made me close the gaps. At this point in the race, though, I think a lot of people are just thinking I have to stay on a wheel, and they may not even trust that I would be able to close that gap. So it's kind of a gamble. They could drop the wheel, and then if I can't close it, then they can't, do anything the rest of the race. So at this point, we are pretty close to on the group, and so they do slow up a little bit. But this guy is still actually helping me a little bit, and I'm very okay with him doing the work. I would have jumped across if I needed to, but I saw that he was still motivated, so I let him do it. I've been doing enough work at this point in the race. So we are coming into, I think, is this one to go maybe? Because it's out of 12 laps. I don't know. We'll see. So if they ring the bell, this is the last lap. But we're all together again now. You can see Reese there. And that Summit rider that also went off with him. Yeah, so they're ringing the bell. So this is one to go. One to go. We are all together. And now I have to kind of figure out how to place the best I can at this point. I'm here. Do I want to go early? So if you saw my last 4 or 5 video at RATL from week 3, my issue was that I went way too early. I got all excited and I took off way further out than I could hold power. So I'm just trying to position myself well. Right now I'm a little too far back. Ideally I'd want to be 5th wheel, and I don't want to get too separated from these guys. I mean, you can see Reese is really putting in a dig already, and I'm just trying to get on a wheel. I'm not even really on a wheel at this point. Come on, get up there. So I think Summit's kind of trying to get organized at this point. It's last lap. They've still got a good amount of team members. They could organize a lead out. And I think that's what they're trying to do here, but not quite all together. You got Greg kind of separating them. So Greg's actually in really good position if they are trying to do a lead out, because then he's kind of in their sprinter's position where the sprinter should be. But things slow up here, and I'm able to move up a little bit. Now, I maybe should have slotted in behind that Summit rider here, but I was looking for Reese's wheel, and I think that was kind of a mistake. So you can see this is kind of an attack, but it's also kind of the start of a lead out. So they got a nice little train, and then Reese slots in, and then I'm just a little bit too far back because I did not fully commit to getting on Reese's wheel. I should have gotten on that Summit guy's wheel. At this point, I'm just trying to give the rest of the power that I can and find an out. Right now, I'm just like, oh, it's congested. I don't know where I could go. I try to get to the right, and I try to push it up this hill. I didn't think to get on that wheel because I'd kind of just given up at that point. And with so many attacks already in my legs, I didn't quite have the power. But 6th place, I am not upset with that. With the amount of work that I did and the team that we had to deal with, I was actually pretty proud of that result. So next time, I think we got to get some of these solo riders to work a little bit together and try to get one of those breakaways to stick. But thank you so much, Summit, for putting on this series. Awesome race. Good team tactics.